Hai semuanya, kembali lagi ke episode baru KTP Kepo tapi Peduli The Podcast. Hari ini kita dijoin dengan Diastika Lokesworo. Diastika gak cuma cantik, down to earth, dan a talented singer-songwriter, tapi dia juga berkarir di arsitektur. Darah Indonesia yang lahir di San Diego ini bukan cuma punya suara yang merdu, tapi juga seorang arsitek muda yang sekarang sukses bekerja di New York. Lagu-lagu Diastika seperti Hope, Kesempatan, dan November memadu nuansa jazz, pop, dan R&B. Awalnya dia cuma menulis lagu buat keluarga dan teman dekat. Cuman akhirnya dia jadi mendapat Album of the Year dari Jazz Goes to Campus UI 2016. Di episode ini kita bakal ngobrol dengan Dias tentang pengalamannya menjadi musisi indie di Indonesia dan gimana dia memadukan dua hasratnya, musik dan arsitektur.
Gue mau ketawa dengerin lu baca intro gue, soalnya you're like my friend, and having you read all these like achievements that I've done is so funny.
Welcome, Dias.
Hi.
We're so excited to have you.
It's not like I don't see you guys almost every day.
Yes.
Welcome Dias, and honestly Dina sama gue excited banget to have Dias because Dias tuh gak cuma our guest star, tapi Dias itu juga sahabat kita juga ya.
Cie, sahabat.
Helping you. Iya, Dias tuh sahabat kita. Nah, hari ini kita mau ngomongin dan diskusi juga ya, karena ini sesuatu yang mungkin kita berdua struggle itu is having our day job, pekerjaan sehari-hari, tapi mungkin kita juga mau melakukan hal-hal yang lebih bisa bikin kita tuh fulfilled dan lebih termotivasi untuk sehari-harinya. Nah, kan lo itu seorang arsitek ya di New York, tapi lo juga seorang musisi indie. Gue ada teman musisi indie di Indonesia. Dan untuk mengejar passion di musik itu tentu butuh banyak keberanian gitu ya, karena nggak selalu glitz and glamour, dan mungkin nggak semudah yang banyak
kita pikir.
yang nggak semudah yang orang pikir. Nah, buat lo sendiri, apa yang mendorong lo untuk mencari kegemaran lain di samping karir utama lo sebagai arsitek?
Well, aku dulu sebetulnya dari kecil senang musik, and it's always been in my life. My family loves music. Kita semua penggemar musik, even though none of us are actual like musicians, like professional musicians. Ultimately, I chose architecture as my main job. Mungkin karena di keluarga Asia emang kayak menjadi arsitek lebih lebih menarik daripada menjadi musisi. But also because I like architecture, I love architecture. But when I started like my third year of schooling, I missed my music. Dan walaupun dunia arsitek tuh sangat kreatif, I still needed another creative outlet in my life, which is the music. And I really missed it. Dan karena aku ngambil kuliahnya di LA, there's a lot of musicians there, a lot of underground musicians, dan semuanya punya day job. And so that inspired me to do a night job, which is being a musician and having my day job as an architect.
Kalau menurut lo, dari pengalaman lo sendiri, apa stigma terbesar yang menurut lo mungkin pernah menghantui lo ketika orang mendengar bahwa lo mau mengejar sesuatu yang kreatif atau pas lo mau mengejar musik?
Well, sebetulnya pas mau ngambil maybe double career as a musician, it wasn't that scary untuk aku dan untuk keluargaku, soalnya I already had my main job, which was architecture. Jadi mereka tuh merasa kayak, okay, nggak apa-apa, dia masih safe gitu loh. And to be honest, I think that in what you can say is Asian values is honestly just because I think the people around us just want the best for us. Jadi kayak karir-karir seperti dokter atau lawyer atau arsitek itu kayaknya safe, you know, like you can live a stable life with these jobs because you'll get a stable income. But that's not as true as it seems, because as an architect, I can say that it's, you know, it's a lot of ups and downs in terms of not just amount of work, tapi finance juga. But aku tuh sebetulnya pingin ngambil fine arts. I love sculpture. Dan kayaknya pas selesai SMA, I told my mom, I was like, I want to be a sculptor. And she's like, apaan tuh? Sculptor apaan? Mau bikin patung. And so we looked together, and I'm so grateful for my mom because she never forced anything upon me. But we searched together. We're like, what is it that can be more useful, but also be a passion of yours? And we looked at different books and, looked back at, things that I like and my history and my family, but also for me. And we found architecture. So it was a team effort between me and my mom to find that passion. Tapi akhirnya I'm doing something that I enjoy, dan orang tua aku juga kayaknya ngerasa some sort of relief that they see architecture as a career that's a safer choice. But every career in life, I want to repeat, is ada ups and downs-nya,
And gue nggak tahu about you guys, cuma for me to be able to find my passion dan hal-hal yang gue actually gemari gitu ya. Karena if you think about it, you spend so much time working, might as well melakukan sesuatu yang lo actually enjoy gitu kan, sesuatu yang setidaknya you're passionate about. But the journey to get there buat gue sendiri sih sebenarnya nggak mudah gitu. Tapi gue ingat pas gue kecil, gue tuh banyak coba-coba banyak hal. Karena tadi lo ada mention bahwa lo mungkin sering bounce here and there within like these two things that you're passionate about. Kalau misalnya buat lo, what help you find things that you are passionate about? Kalau misalnya buat gue sendiri, karena pas kecil ini gue udah coba banyak banget hal, dan akhirnya gue nyadar gitu, kayaknya ini actually I'm not even good at it, like I'm not good at this, and bukan mungkin sesuatu yang gue penasaran, cuma when I do it, actually this is not something I like. Kalau misalnya buat lo sendiri, what help you find your passion?
Honestly, for me, it's a lot of trial and error. Like, I think one of the toxic things about Indonesian women, and at least for me, I don't know about anybody else, tapi kita tuh takut sama umur. Kita tuh mikir kita harus memilih passion kita pas masih muda, you know what I mean? Kayak high school. I know my cousin, she's only like 18, she's about to go into college, and she's like, apa ya, kayak what should I pick? What should I be? And she was jealous of me because she's like, you picked architecture so young. But don't be afraid, because how are you gonna know what you like if you pick something so early? Kita tuh mikirnya, umur 20, kita harus udah tahu passion kita apa. Umur 30 and above, you have to be successful because there's no more time to try things. But that's not the truth. You are young, you have so much time in the world. Like, if you don't make it at 20, make it at 30. If you don't make it at 30, make it at 40. If you don't make it at 40, make it at 50.
You're never too old.
You're never... Mm-hmm. Okay, correct me. I think like Vera Wang designed her first dress at like 40 or something.
No way.
Like that.
Oh, really? Tapi dia masih kelihatan masih muda banget juga sih.
She's 70 now.
She's 70 now.
You know?
And it's like her soul is young, like the way you carry yourself is young. Dan,
girl, I feel 25 every day.
Hey!
but you're 27, Dina.
Yeah, what the hell? Tapi kayak, I don't know, I think it's a lot of pressure. I think Indonesian families naturally give you a lot of pressure. There's pressure on being able to finance yourself, but also your family. You know what I mean? Like, jadi kayaknya kita tuh langsung fear-based thinking. You know what I mean? Jadi kayaknya we have to be able to not think about age as a scary thing, but as an opportunity thing, you know?
Buat gue itu lumayan susah sih. Karena the way kita di race itu, kita tuh nggak cuma mikirin diri sendiri ya. It's a very community based, right? Seperti contohnya tadi kita ngomongin budaya gitu lah di Indonesia. Mungkin di sini sedikit lebih individualistic.
Yeah.
Not even sedikit. Very individualistic, right? Yang kayak semuanya it's like ini happiness gue dan ini kebahagiaan gue gitu lah yang penting buat gue. Tapi kalau misalnya mungkin di budaya kita Okay, I'm gonna look out for you, and I think people are a little bit more open about like genuinely helping you gitu.
Yeah.
Dan kembali lagi untuk mencari keseimbangan itu, kalau misalnya lu sendiri gimana caranya lu bisa kayaknya tuh memenuhi tuntutan orang tua, tapi di sisi lain lu juga tetap mewujudkan impian lu sendiri.
Menarik dan berat pertanyaannya.
Tadi nangis nih kita. Tadi baru bisa
lagi nangis. But that's so interesting. You're right. Kayak di Indo tuh no boundaries. Di US too much boundaries. Like where do you find the balance?
Karena kita kerja nggak cuma buat kita loh. Mungkin ini mentalitasnya ya kalau misalnya di Indonesia. Karena lu dilepasnya kan lumayan later in life gitu lah ya. Kan jarang-jarang orang mungkin baru nikah baru keluar rumah gitu kan. Jadi there's this guilt, there's this burden. Kayaknya lu harus pay back, lu harus kerja buat family. Your future family, your current family, you know, there's like so much of that.
I mean, not even that, kayak dating pun lo mikirin kayak, what is my mom gonna think?
Yeah,
you know, like it's just always in the back of your mind.
Yeah, it's like, how do I introduce them to my parents? You know, like
it's like their decision matter.
Exactly.
Or opinions.
But I think to some extent that is a good thing.
Yeah.
There is nothing bad in thinking about not just yourself but also the community, you know, like of course that's something that's positive, tapi how do you balance that where you don't sacrifice your happiness for that? Untuk gue ya, like it was just clear communication from the start. When I first told my mom kayak aku pengen jadi seniman, you know, I want to sculpt things, I want to paint things, she was scared, and she talked about it with me, and she told me why that made her, you know, scared. But she also allowed me to talk about why I wanted to choose that, you know. And so I think as long as there's communication, kayak kenapa that choice or that passion is what makes you happy, they'll accept. Because at the end of the day, your family just wants you to be happy, I'm pretty sure. You know what I mean? It's about maybe communicating that gets a little bit mixed up. So for me, it's always been just being very clear with how I feel. Kayak aku tuh orangnya emotional banget. So when I am communicating what I want, walaupun mungkin untuk, you know, untuk orang tua aku atau untuk keluarga aku, not the best thing, I'll sit back, ngeteh dulu bentar, you know what I mean? Di-talk sama teman-teman, curhat dulu. And then I'll figure out the best way to communicate this with my parents, you know? Actually, aku gak mau A, aku maunya B, karena ini. And so far, it's worked pretty well for me.
And I think keluarga kita sebenarnya mengatakan hal-hal ini itu sebenarnya mereka cuma looking out for us, tapi terkadang mungkin kita jadi takut untuk mengambil riskan gitu kan, untuk take something new, pursue something new, and there's almost this fear of failing. Kayak failure is so frowned upon, dan mungkin itu personal atau mungkin malu gitu ya. Nanti orang ngomongnya kayak gimana, kayak gini. Lo ada nggak pengalaman di mana actually when you fail, you actually learn something from it dan actually membuat karir lo jauh lebih baik lagi? Lo pernah nggak ada pengalaman kayak gitu?
Yeah, I had a really good job after graduating from architecture school. Aku langsung di-hire sama salah satu profesor aku, and I had a really good job in architecture in LA. Everything was so good. Tapi di umur 24, aku tuh ngerasa too comfortable almost, like I had a routine, you know, I had a really nice apartment, I had a car, and everything was so smooth sailing. Dan di saat itu aku benar-benar kayak, I need something more in my life, I need to be challenged. And that's when I was like, I'm gonna quit my job, I'm gonna fly to Indonesia and become 100% an indie musician. Tapi aku takut untuk ngambil risk itu. So I called my mom, "Mah, dia pingin ini." And aku tuh bawanya tuh kayak curhat. I treated my mom kayak teman curhat lebih dari, instead of kayak asking permission, minta izin untuk quit my job, aku lebih ke, dia pingin ini tapi takut nanti, you know, this good job, I'm gonna leave it, I'm gonna become a musician, what do you think? And at the end of the day, she was super supportive. And she's like, you'll never know until you try. Just give it a try. But then, together, we set up my plan B, which was apply for a master's. Jadi kalau misalnya music career-nya nggak dapet, I still have my backup plan, which is my master's degree. So I did. So I quit my job. I went back to Indonesia. I became a musician. And it was a lot harder than I thought. We had one song that kind of picked up on the radio. Tapi I think the next step after that was to make an album. But the funding for that as an indie musician is so difficult. Apalagi I'm just a vocalist. Like I don't know how to play any other instruments. Jadi untuk nyari musisi, untuk nyari producer, untuk, all the different stuff that goes into music, like funding was very difficult. And to be honest, I think the reason I don't have an album till this day is quote unquote what some people might think is a failure. It sucks. I think about it till this day, like, oh, I wish I could make an album. But like I said before, I still have so much time. I'm only 27, Kayak di Jakarta orang mikirnya kayak, oh udah mau 30. But like, I got that so many times, by the way. Kayak setiap ngomong sama distributor or like potential investor buat albumnya, like, oh, tapi dia di US. Atau, oh, tapi dia sudah, a little bit older. Like, oh, harusnya, you know what I mean? They always try to dress me young. But I got so much time. And I think everything happens in its own time and for its own reason. Jadi, there must be a reason now that I don't have an album yet. So I don't think it's a failure. Some people might think it is, but I'm grateful for my architecture and my album will come one day, hopefully. Who knows?
Dan ngomongin tentang industri entertainment, industri musik, apa sih yang memotivasi lo atau menginspire lo every day? Dan mungkin ini juga secara general aja ya, like what inspires you and keep you going and keep that passion alive, whether itu di karir arsitektur lo atau di karir musik lo, atau lo sebagai orang aja gitu. Dalam banget pertanyaannya. Tapi gue juga mau tahu sih.
I'm very lucky, soalnya both my careers, dua-duanya tuh sangat integrated with my life. Everything from hanging out with you guys, at a restaurant or something, that's gonna help me in the future design a restaurant. You know what I mean? Or like,
Inspirasi dia.
You guys are my inspiration. But, like everyday living, even the smallest things like, listening to good music is gonna help me design the project that I'm doing now. And same with the music, like every little thing I think helps with how I write lyrics. Jadi, finding motivation is in the smaller things, I think, as cheesy as that sounds. But also because, I don't know, I feel like di umur gue sekarang, umur 27, like I still feel like there's so much growth to be done. Whether it's in music or architecture or something else, I don't know. Tapi balik ke, our discussion about age, like I think there's so much more that can be tapped into. So that keeps me motivated too. Kayak gue ngerasa perjalanan gue, not just in my career, but everything in my life, like there is so much to do still.
So knowing you personally, you have a very flexible background gitu ya. Karena lo lahir di Amerika, abis itu lo juga sempat tinggal di Indonesia, dan sekarang lo balik lagi tinggal di Amerika. Gimana caranya lo mencari keseimbangan di budaya timur dan barat? Karena tentu beda banget gitu ya. Bahkan the approach of people in the office, atau mungkin
the way you socialize,
the way people work, terus mungkin budaya kerja di Indo sama di Amerika tuh beda. Karena gue ingat
beda
dulu,
banget sih.
iya, karena dulu lu juga pernah kerja di Indonesia so ya. Different. It's hard to say like which one is better.
Yeah.
I think karena fitnya beda aja gitu kan. Ya mungkin ini lebih cocok buat budaya Indo. Mungkin ada beberapa hal yang lebih cocok untuk budaya Barat gitu kan. Jadi kalau misalnya lo mau mencari balance itu, and maybe you can also share about your struggles, like what do you struggle with and how do you find that balance?
Girl, there is a lot. You really want to hear all of that? I really like that question just because, like, since I was a very, young girl, as far as I can remember, I always struggled with duality. Soalnya, I feel like as a person, I couldn't fit just in one box. Okay, aku Indo, tapi setiap balik ke Indo, everyone's like, oh, bule banget nih, you know what I mean? And obviously when I came to America, the way I look, you might not hear it, but when you're living in New York, people do notice an accent once in a while with certain words. And so I never felt like I belong. I've never felt like I belong in America. I never felt like I belonged in Indonesia. And so now, at least for the past few years, aku tuh benar-benar coba untuk nyari comfort zone where like I feel comfortable in my duality, like finding the middle ground for those two, not just with architecture and music, but also, like East and West. It took a long time, and in terms of struggle, I think kayak aku juga waktu itu pernah atau sempat kerja di Indonesia. Most of my musical career was in Indonesia. And there's something about both the architecture and music industry in Indonesia that's very like friendly. I think it's because Indonesian people are very warm, tapi at the same time, for me it was difficult soalnya susah untuk ngebedain mana yang personal, mana yang professional, you know what I mean? Things like kalau misalnya kerja sama temen, yaudah kasih harga temen aja. And it's like, oh, how do I set my boundaries, like bukannya harga temen harusnya supportive dan lebih, like pay the same amount. Tapi again, it was trying to find my comfort zone, and I think in my personal life, like I would say I have a lot more Indonesian friends than I do Western friends, just because I just like the ally conversation.
Lebih lepas gitu ya.
Receh, kayak lebih santai. Gue bisa kayak jongkok, terus nobody's gonna judge me.
Ya, girl. Dia jauh-jauh kesini cuma nyari jongkok. Padahal di mana-mana semua bisa jongkok.
Iya, cuman dijudge gitu kalau gue jongkok di Union Square gitu kan, kayak aduh, kenapa nih cewek?
Jadi kalau ada yang lihat cewek jongkok di Union Square, itu dia.
Kalau misalnya kalian yang di Indonesia ada yang lagi melipir ke New York, kalau ada orang yang jongkok itu udah pasti dia, karena gak ada orang lagi di New York yang jongkok. Talking about boundaries, how do you find that boundary? Gimana caranya lo bisa cari boundary sama teman-teman kantor, atau mungkin gak ada boundary? Like it's not possible to find that boundary.
It's hard because I don't know if you feel this too, but WhatsApp blurs the boundaries.
Yep,
and Indonesia tuh kayak culture-nya di WhatsApp semua gitu kan.
Di WhatsApp terus nggak ada jam kerja.
Iya, nggak ada jam kerja. And because WhatsApp kan kayak chat kan. It's like you're chatting with your friends. Again, as you mentioned, it's like it really blurs the line between friendships and professional relationship. I don't know. I don't think I ever found boundaries, like or the balance between it.
Another thing that I found very difficult, also in line with boundaries, is apalagi generasi kita ya. We all have a startup mentality. Jadi semuanya tuh kayak, how can I do this for my benefit? You know what I mean? Meanwhile, the US tuh you don't really feel that. You don't feel a startup mentality. You just feel like, okay, people are working dari jam segini sampai jam segini. My responsibility is, misalnya A, to design a house. Ya udah, you just design a house. You're not trying to makan temen or whatever, there's not a lot of like competition.
I have worked in the US too, tapi ada juga my previous company yang culture-nya lumayan kayak toxic tech culture gitu loh, yang kayak everyone's obsessed with work. There's no log off time. Everyone's just working all the time and are expected to work all the time. But I find that in Indo as well. I think kayak kalau di Indo mungkin bedanya it's like your coworkers can be your friends and the lines are blurred, but I think that's rooted more from the collectivism mentality 100%. That you have in Indo. But then the benefit of that too is like my coworkers will look out for me as well, like at work, gitu loh. Kayak we are each other's like anchors, and that's nice. Tapi kalau di US, I don't really find it to be the reality. Like everyone's really connected, but for the wrong reasons, you know?
Right. Right.
So,
I think that was gonna be my follow-up question. Benefitnya apa? Kalau misalnya teman-teman kantor gak ada boundaries gitu sama lo, jadi kayak teman-teman kantor lo juga sahabat lo gitu.
yeah. I mean, I'm really still close friends with my coworkers yang di Indo sih. Like, I still stay in touch with them here and there, and even when I go visit Indo, like, I will see them for lunch or something. And that's nice, because, like, I have that relationship, and everyone really, truly, like, help each other out with work, at work, and also kayak outside of work, which was nice. But kalau di sini, I don't really feel like I would feel that kind of benefit, quote unquote, with my coworkers in the US. Like, we're just like, we're coworkers. Yeah.
Kalau lo, Dias?
Mungkin again, like you said, Dina, it depends on the industry. Karena aku emang di architecture itu, it's very collaborative. And design can get quite sensitive in terms of emotion. Like, I know this sounds weird, tapi kalau misalnya lu lagi desain rumah, lu harus mikirin juga kayak how is someone gonna feel inside the space. So there is a lot of sharing involved between coworkers, and it gets quite personal because you're sharing like, oh, this is how a kitchen works because this is how I use my kitchen, and then someone might share their ideas. So it does get quite intimate, and I've formed pretty good relationships with my coworkers, at least in architecture. But at the same time, I get where you're coming from. Din kayak this year, gara-gara pandemi, it's the first time I'm working a corporate job as an architect. I've never done this before. Dulu tuh kantor gue tuh selalu kayak kecil. That's why it feels intimate. That's why it feels like a family. But now I'm working corporate, and it's, you know, I see people in the office that I don't know their names, who they are. You know what I mean? Like, it feels very cold sometimes. Then di saat itu, emang gue suka kangen sama kayak Indo, you know, like I miss the warmth of, you know, the Indonesian workspace. Tapi I think that's come to my benefit in some ways. Soalnya, apa ya, kayak gue orang Indonesia, so I've been taught and raised to be a bit warmer, even to coworkers, you know? So I think that's helped me because now my fellow designers in the office, even though it's a corporate job, they feel they can trust me and they come with me to share things. Even just little things like, hey, I found a new trick on AutoCAD. I don't know if you guys know what AutoCAD is. It's like it's a computer, like tips and tricks. Like, they want to share with me because they feel like they're friends. So again, it's like sitting comfortably in your duality. Kayak ngerti, okay, as an Indonesian person, I should be, you know, I shouldn't try to be so cold kayak orang-orang di New York, you know. I'm still warm, I'm still, you know, Indonesian.
And I think there's also something about not making your career your life.
Yes.
Dan jadi value dari hidup lo itu nggak cuma didetermine dari kerjaan lo gitu. Jadi karena lo ada kegambaran lain dan lo juga enjoy other things in life, hopefully the career doesn't define who you are gitu ya. Nah, pertanyaan terakhir, apa advice lu untuk orang-orang yang masih bingung gitu untuk mencari passion mereka dan
atau mungkin masih takut untuk punya hobi di luar pekerjaan kali ya.
Kayak
apa advice lu atau kata-kata bijak atau kata-kata mutiara?
Kata-kata mutiara.
Kata-kata bijak. Find your support system. Like, before you try the risk, talk to your friends, talk to your family. Then at the end of the day, kalau mereka nggak supportive, ya itu bukan teman-teman lo. You know what I mean? So don't be afraid to take a risk. If you are afraid, that might be a good thing because that means you care. But find a good support system and just understand that you have so much time left. So go and try stuff. I think for me, it was understanding also kayak, okay, walaupun gue mau ngejar side project ini dalam musik, tanggung jawab gue dalam architecture nggak akan ketinggalan. I know my responsibilities as an architect and I'm not going to leave those behind. So prioritizing is also very important, I think. Those 3 tips, kata-kata mutiara gue support system, prioritizing, and don't be afraid of time.
Well, Diastika, thank you for coming to our podcast. We appreciate you as a friend and as our talented guest.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kalau kamu mau support Diastika as an indie artist di Indonesia, don't forget to check her music on Spotify atau di Instagramnya @diastika. Dan as always, follow kita di @ktp the podcast on Instagram and TikTok for the latest updates dari kita dan snippet dari recording kita. See you on the next episode and much love from your hosts Josephine and Dina.